You're too boring to invest in. My mother said those words to my face while standing in my childhood kitchen, wearing the diamond earrings I'd bought her for Christmas 3 years ago. The same kitchen where I'd done homework every night, where I'd quietly built the foundation for everything I would become. And now she was telling me I wasn't worth betting on. What she didn't know was that the man she'd stolen from was standing right behind her. Let me take you back to the beginning. My name is Margot Ellison and I grew up in a small town outside of Columbus, Ohio. We weren't wealthy but we weren't poor either. My father worked as an electrician. My mother stayed home with us kids. And my grandfather, my dad's father, had built a modest fortune through 40 years of owning a chain of auto repair shops across central Ohio. Grandpa Harold was the patriarch of our family. He was sharp, fair, and believed in hard work above all else. When he retired and sold his business, he had accumulated enough to live comfortably and leave something behind for his grandchildren. He always said he wanted to help us get started in life, but only when we were ready and only for something worthwhile. I was the middle child. My older brother, Trent, was the golden boy, charming, loud, always the center of attention. My younger sister, Vivien, was the baby, coddled and protected. Me. I was the quiet one. The one who got good grades but never made a fuss about it. The one who helped with dishes without being asked. The one who disappeared into books while everyone else fought for the spotlight. I was, as my mother so eloquently put it, boring. After high school I went to Ohio State on a partial scholarship. I studied accounting because I was good with numbers and because it was practical. I didn't dream of fame or fortune. I just wanted stability. I wanted to build something solid. While I was grinding through my degree, working part-time at a tax preparation office, Trent was bouncing between failed ventures. First it was a food truck that lasted 6 months. Then a clothing brand that never got off the ground. Then a cryptocurrency scheme that lost him $10,000. Money he'd borrowed from our parents. But Trent had something I didn't: charm. He could sell ice to polar bears. He could make our mother believe that every failure was just a stepping stone to his inevitable success. And she bought it every single time. After I graduated, I got a job at a mid-sized accounting firm in Columbus. I worked my way up slowly and methodically. I got my CPA license. I took on more clients. I saved every extra penny I could. And when I was 28, I took the biggest risk of my life. I opened my own firm. It wasn't glamorous. I rented a tiny office above a dry cleaner. I worked 18-hour days. I ate ramen for dinner more nights than I'd like to admit. But slowly, steadily, my client list grew. Small businesses, startups, and eventually some mid-sized companies that needed someone they could trust. By the time I was 32, Ellison Financial Services had 12 employees and offices in 3 cities. I'd done it all without asking my family for a single dollar. Not that they would have given me one anyway. The phone call came on a Tuesday evening in October. I was at my desk reviewing quarterly reports when my phone buzzed. It was my mother. "Margot, we need you to come home this weekend. It's about Grandpa." My heart dropped. Grandpa Harold was 87. He'd had some health scares over the years, but he was still sharp as a tack, still living independently in his house, still driving himself to church every Sunday despite my father's protests. "Is he okay?" I asked. "He's fine," my mother said, though her voice was tight. "Just come home. Saturday. Noon. It's important." I cleared my schedule and drove to Ohio that weekend. When I pulled up to my parents' house, I saw Trent's Range Rover in the driveway, a car I happened to know he couldn't actually afford. Vivien's sedan was there too, along with an unfamiliar pickup truck. Inside, the whole family was gathered in the living room. My parents, Trent and his wife Bethany, Vivien and her boyfriend, and Grandpa Harold, sitting in the armchair by the window with his cane resting against his knee. "There she is," my mother said as I walked in. Always the last to arrive. I bit my tongue. I had driven 4 hours. I was exactly on time. "What's going on?" I asked, taking a seat on the couch. My mother exchanged a look with my father, who seemed deeply uncomfortable. "We need to talk about Grandpa's estate," she said. I glanced at Grandpa Harold, who was watching the scene with an unreadable expression. "I thought that was already settled," I said carefully. "Grandpa had told us years ago. The money would be split equally between the grandchildren when he passed." "Well, circumstances have changed," my mother said. "Trent has an opportunity, a real one this time." "Here we go again." Trent leaned forward, wearing his most earnest expression. It's a tech startup, Margot. AI-powered fitness coaching. We've already got investors lined up, but we need seed money to get the prototype finished. This is the one. I can feel it. I'd heard variations of that speech a dozen times, but something in my mother's tone made me uneasy. How much? I asked. My mother hesitated. 200,000. The room went silent. And where exactly is that money coming from? I asked, though I already knew the answer. Grandpa agreed to advance Trent's inheritance, my mother said smoothly. It's not a big deal. He has plenty and Trent needs it now. I looked at Grandpa Harold again. He was staring at my mother with an expression I couldn't quite read, something between confusion and quiet fury. Grandpa, I said slowly, did you agree to this? Before he could answer, my mother cut in. Of course he did. We discussed it last month. He signed the papers and everything. I don't remember signing any papers, Grandpa Harold said, his voice gravelly but firm. The room went very, very still. Dad, you did, my father insisted, though he didn't sound convinced. Carol showed you the documents at the hospital after your procedure. Grandpa Harold's eyes narrowed. I was sedated after that procedure. I couldn't have signed my own name. My mother's face paled, but she recovered quickly. You're misremembering, Harold. You've been having memory issues. My memory is fine, Grandpa said, his voice rising. What's not fine is that my bank called me yesterday asking about a $200,000 wire transfer that I have no recollection of authorizing. The truth hung in the air like smoke. My mother had forged his signature. She'd waited until he was vulnerable, confused from anesthesia, and she had taken his money without permission. Mom, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Tell me you didn't. She turned on me with a viciousness I'd never seen before. Don't you dare judge me, Margot. You have no idea what it's like to watch your son struggle while you sit there counting your money in your fancy office. Struggle. I repeated. Trent has had every advantage, every second chance. I built my business from nothing while you told me to get a real job. Because your business is boring, my mother snapped. Numbers and spreadsheets. There's no vision, no excitement. Trent is trying to change the world. Trent is trying to get rich without working for it, I shot back. At least he's trying something bold. You're too boring to invest in. You always have been. The words hit me like a slap. Before I could respond, a door creaked open behind her. We all turned. Grandpa Harold had risen from his chair. He stood slowly, gripping his cane, and walked toward my mother with deliberate steps. For a moment no one breathed. Interesting, he said quietly. Because I never gave anyone permission to take my money. And I certainly never called any of my grandchildren boring. My mother's face crumbled. Harold, I can explain. You can explain to my lawyer, Grandpa said. Who I called this morning along with the police. The color drained from my mother's face completely. Trent jumped to his feet, stammering something about a misunderstanding, insisting he didn't know the money wasn't legitimate. But Grandpa wasn't looking at them anymore. He was looking at me. Margot, he said softly. I've watched you work for everything you have. Never asked for help. Never complained. Built something real while these fools chased dreams made of smoke. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out an envelope. I had my lawyer draw this up last week before any of this nonsense. It's an investment, a real one, properly documented in your firm. $500,000. I stared at the envelope, unable to speak. Grandpa, I can't. You can and you will, he said firmly. Because you've earned it. Because you're the only one in this room who understands that success isn't about being exciting. It's about showing up every day, doing the work, being reliable. Being steady. He glanced at my mother with cold disappointment. Being, as your mother puts it, boring. My mother made a sound like a wounded animal. Dad, please. Trent needs this more than she does. Trent needs to get a job, Grandpa said flatly. And you need to pray I don't press charges, though I make no promises. He turned toward the door, then paused. Margot, walk with me. I'd like to discuss some investment opportunities. I've been thinking about expanding into commercial properties, and I hear you have an excellent head for numbers. I stood on shaking legs. As I passed my mother, I stopped. For the record, I said quietly, boring is what you call people who succeed without needing to be rescued. I'd rather be boring than bankrupt. Then I followed my grandfather out the door, leaving my mother's broken expression behind. 6 months later, Trent's startup collapsed. The prototype never worked. The investors pulled out. He now works at a car dealership, probably the most honest job he's ever had. My mother hasn't spoken to me since that day. Neither has Vivien, who apparently chose sides. My father sends awkward holiday texts. He's caught in the middle and I feel for him, but I can't fix his marriage. Grandpa Harold moved into an assisted living facility by choice. He said he was tired of maintaining a house. I visit him every Sunday. We talk about business, life, and the importance of building something that lasts. His investment helped me expand into 2 more states. Ellison Financial Services now has 30 employees and a reputation for integrity in an industry that desperately needs it. And you know what? I'm still boring. I still prefer spreadsheets to speeches. I still go to bed early and wake up at 5 a.m. I still find deep satisfaction in numbers that balance and forecasts that come true. But boring built an empire. Boring earned respect. Boring got the inheritance not by scheming but by deserving it. My mother thought I wasn't worth investing in because I didn't sparkle. She couldn't see that quiet consistency is its own kind of brilliance. Grandpa saw it though. And in the end, that was the only opinion that mattered. Sometimes the people who underestimate you teach you the most about your own worth. They show you exactly who not to become, and exactly why you should never apologize for being who you are.